407.06. Prior to providing 508 submission for the concept of the proposal, the index with the weather plane with the mention of the upper of the RMA. Route 508 submission for the concept proposal, the index with the base of the weather plane, and for the determinant all required with the documentation included with the corn 407.05 with the review of the 508 submission for the concept of the proposal, the index with the base of the weather plane with the instrument with the determinant whether it's sufficient quality with the conduct with the mirroring full review such of the board will be act with the informed decision regarding with approval of the disapproval of the accordance with the section 508H1B with the act and sold with the discretion to determine the policy with the plan reinsurance the likely to result of the viable the market policy the provide procedure crop and instrument that significantly improve with the form that adequately protect with the instrument that proceed with the RMA with the may reject with the return with the 508H submission with the concept of the proposal to inject the base and the web of the plan insurance is not likely to complete unless with the result of the viable the market policy will not provide with the crop insurance with the converge and significantly informed and the form will not be adequately protect with the interest of the producer. Simply to provide in paragraph A2 with that 4 with the section 4.508 submission from the concept of the proposal with the index base with the weather plan insurance with the result of the RMA initial with the review of the board determine with the completeness and quality with the upon with the board receive with the 508H submission of the board will determine 508 submission with the complete with the board vote with the contract with each with the review with the 508 submission with the team with the complete with the start with the 120 day with the time of the proof with the 508 submission makes non-significant change with the policy with the plan insurance with the involved with the policy provision with the already undergone with the expert for with the complete with the 508 submission with at least 5 experts reviewers to view 508 submission with one of the 5 experts with more than one will be employed federal government but may not be employed with the previous insurance provided with the representative with the reviewers will each of the provide the individual assessment for the 508 submission protectors interest of the agricultural product taxpayer with the actual appropriate to follow the recognized insurance principle to meet with the requirements of the act does not contain the excessive of the risk may consider the excessive of the if the incurred the adversely selection moral hazard of the premium race could not be adequately appropriately determined and follow sound with the reasonable with appropriate underwriting principles will provide a new kind of the coverage that we like with the viable the market will provide with the crop insurance with the coverage of the manner address the clear with the identify with the flow with the problem with the existing policy will provide the new and improve the coverage of the commodity with the previous known with the available crop insurance with the demonstrate with the low level of the participating coverage of low coverage under the existing coverage with the may significantly adversely impact with the crop insurance with the delivery system of the marketable assessment of the reasonable with the demonstrate with the product with the will be viable to the market if the applicant would not be marketable assessment with the AIP with the shall be presumed in the submission the unmarketable of applicable to consult with the consultation with the provide with the evidence 508 submission will not create adverse net market distortion and the meets with any of the criteria of the board may be deemed necessary. Return applicable to any of the 508 submission of the board determined to not complete with along with the explanation of the reason for the determination with the 508H submission developed to prove the concept proposal the provision 407-12C1 shall be also accepted with the 508 submission of the development and the concept proposal of the 508 submission with the reimbursed for the date with which also consider the 508 submission and solely with the purpose of determining amount of the time and the selection of the acts in section 508H submission. Request review the RMA provide with the assessment of the 508 submission with the meet for the carrier or list of the B2 for the 2A with the M consistent with the USDA with the policy proposal. Public policy goal for the design and treat for the shift of the risk of the federal crop insurance with the corporation, the reinsured policy with cannot be implemented to administer with delivered effectively and efficiently with the RMA with the information technology delivery system. Contains requested amount of the government reinsured for the risk subsidy administered with the operating subsidy questionable appropriate for the type of the coverage of the provided with the policy. Seeking review the official of the general counsel will determine if the 508H submission with the conform with the requirements of the act of the applicable the federal statute with the regulation upon with the board receive the concept of the proposal will determine whether the concept of the proposal is complete with the day with the board with the votes of the contract with the expert with the reviewers of the day with the concept of the proposal the team with the complete with the concept of the proposal will start with the 120 day time with the period with the approval the complete forward concept of the proposal the least of the 2 expert with the reviews the underwriting of the actual experience with the review of the concept of the corners with the section 522 with the B2 accept part with the proceed with the handbook book 1703 with the approval of the procedure submission of the concept proposal seeking the advance payment of the research of the development cost. Returning to the applicant concept of the proposal to the board with the determinative that not complete with along with the explanation and over the review of the determination concept of the proposal to resubmit at a later date with the consider the new concept of the proposal solely for the purpose of the determination around the time of the board must take an action. Determine whether the concept of the developed with the individual policy with the plan ensure with the good faith of the will would meet with the requirement of the likely result of the viable of the marketplace with consisting of the 508H for the applicant with the containment of the viable of the marketplace assessment of the AIP with the board shall pursue in the submission with the ends unmarkable. So the discretion of the determinant with the concept of the proposal to develop the new policy of the plan in terms of the would-be requirement of providing coverage of the significant improve the form of the crop and regional, review the non-traditional of the federal crop insurance program, and then form with address with the recognized flaw of the program plan with determining whether the proposed budget for the time reasonable, determining whether the concept of the proposal with the needs for the all of the requirements approved with the board with the special with the proceed with the special with the 1703 with the approve with the proceed with the submission with the concept of the proposal, seeking advice payment of research for the development of the cost of the provide with the date with the 508 with the sub with the being the consult with the agent applicant with the U of the board accepted with the index base. Whether the plan in terms of the board will determine whether the index, whether the whether the plan in terms of complete with the day of the board votes for the contract with the reviews, with the day with the index base of the weather plan with the insurance of the deemed the complete with the start of the 120-day time period approval to determine with the complete with the contract with the 5 expert with the review with the insurance of the bay with the lands with the insurance of the corns with section 523 1A act support with the procedure 170501 approves procedure submission index base for the weather plans and insurance of the return applicant with the index base weather plan with the insurance of the board determines that it's not complete along with the explanation reason for the determination index base for the weather plan insurance with the resubmitted at a later date with the considered with the new with the index base for the weather plans reinsurance with the total the purpose of determining an amount with the board may be taken action guarantee with the highest approval to approve of the index base of the plan for the insurance will provide with a new kind of coverage of the specialty crop, the livestock, the commodity with the previously had, and with available crop insurance with the common share at a low level of participating under the existing coverage. All comments evaluation provided with the board of the determined period of the board adequate time of the review of the board will consider the amount all comments evaluation recommendations review process prior to the making of the decision. The board may require additional information of the RMA, OGC, with the expert review of the applicant, consider whether the approve of the policy, the plan with the insurance with the such with the policy plan with the insurance that will be offered sale with the board will for considering plan policy with the plan with the insurance with the address done reserve the commodity with included commodity with there's no insurance with the, and consider the existing policy plans insurance with the inadequate with the coverage with the exist low participation less consider with the L policy with the plans with the insurance with the submitted with the board with the do not meet the criteria described in paragraph G1 or 2. Anytime of the applicant with the may request for the time of the day with the 1508 with the submission concept of the proposal with the index base whether the plan insurance has been placed in the board meeting of the agenda of the board is not required with a degree with such extension. With respect with the 508H submission with the concept of the proposal approved with the board advance payment of the applicant and as provided with a good cause with the consideration should be delayed. If the request of the time delay with not limited to the length of the time of the day with the set with the board which also with the revision of the 508 submission with the concept of the proposal index based with the web of the plan sure with the made must be made with the has however the delay for the maybe the implementation 508 submission with the targeted crop impracticable impossible to determine with the board with the time period with the during the board will make with a decision to approve or disapprove of the 508 submission with the concept of the proposal the index base with the weather plan insurance will be extended with the compensatory with any time of the delay with the requested applicant and the applicant may withdraw 508 submission concept of the proposal the index base with the weather plan with the insurance with the portion of 508 submission with the concept of the proposal any of the time of the presenting a request of the board with the withdrawn 508 submission with the concept proposal with the index base with the weather insurance with the resubmitted the deem of the new 508 submission concept of the proposal index base weather plan insurance so for the purpose of determining the amount of the time of the board must take in action. The board will render for the decision 508 submission with an index base with the weather plan insurance without reason to give the notice of intent with a disapproval of the 90 days after the day with the 508 submission with an index base with the weather plan with the insurance with the consider with the complete with the board with the unless the board agree with the timely day with the agree delay the corner with the paragraph H of the section. The board provided with the notice for the intent with approval of the 508 submission with the determined interest of the producer for the taxpayer for the protections included but not limited to 508 submission that does not provide adequate cover for the tree for the producer disparated. The applicant has not presented sufficient determination of the 508 submission and will provide with a new kind of coverage that are likely to be valuable to the market. If the applicant cannot obtain with a marketable assessment with the AIP with the board shall presume with a submission with an unmarketable coverage will be similar. Another policy plan with the insurance with not demonstrate with a low level of participation does not contain with clearly identified with the flaw with the producer with the not significantly benefit with the 508 submission. 508 submission will create adversely making marketing distortion adversely impact the other crop of the agricultural commodity if marketed. 508 submission, significant adverse impact for the privately delivered. Chosen 508 submission cannot be an impact implemented administratively delivered effectively. Vision with the RMA's information technology delivery system. 508 submission for the content for the fall with the encouraged adverse selection or the moral hazard. 508 submission contains variable vulnerabilities allowed with identity to exceed the value of the crop. The premium rate not accurately appropriate to 508 submission does not conform to the sound of the entry with the underwriting principle of risk associated with 508 submission, except for the increase of the shift of the risk of the other reinsured policy with the 508 submission that does not meet with the requirements of the Act with the 90-day deadline with the other section J with the will be before the board with the has to make with the informed decision. True with the approve of the dist or approve of the 508 submission, the board made it thus approve of the concept proposal to determine the concept of the good faith will not be reasonable, viable, and marketable policy consider the 508H. Sole discretion of the board with the concept of the development policy approved of the board will not be provided with the crop insurance with a significant inform of the crop region with the traditional serve of the federal crop insurance program in the form of the rest of the recognized flaw of the program and the program problem in the program. Proposed budget of the timetable is not reasonable to determine over the board with the concept of the proposal fail with the meet with one or more of the requirements established over the board will shall provide with the notice for the intent. Does this approve of the index bay with the weather plane with the insurance that determines over the not with the adequate extreme with the underwriting with the administrative of the policy with the plane with the insurance that comparable to proposed policy with the plan insurance. Sufficient assistance of the reinsurance to satisfy the underwriting obligation of the insurance provider, positive sufficient insurance with credit rating with appropriate credit rating bureau and according with the bureau board proceeds with the applicable authority approval to save with approve of the insurance provider intent with the sole sell of the insurance product. Unless otherwise provided, the section board intent with the disapprove of the 508 submission and the index based with the weather plan with the intent of the board will approve of the applicant with a written explanation outside of the line with the intent of the disapprove of the will the disapprove of the 508 submission with the concept of the proposal of the index based with the weather plan interim with the must be with the made with the board with a written note not later than 120 days. The board has determined it to be complete with the notice of the made intent with the disapprove of the 508 submission index based weather plan with the insurance that has not been entered with the board. Applicant must provide with a written notice of the board no later than 30 days with the board. Provide with the set notice of 508 submission and or the index of other plan index will be modified with the applicant that does not respond within 30-day period. The board will send to the applicant a letter stating the 508 submission with the index base whether the plan reinsurance of the disapproved. If the applicant modified 508 submission with an index base whether the plan and trim the applicant must survive the day with the 508 submission with an index base with weather plan with the index trim will be presented to the board remainder of the time on the time left of the trim of the board of the notice of the intent of the disapprove of the expiration 120 days deadline is followed and unnotified with the 508 submission index base whether the plan and intro of the receiver of the board will disapprove of the modified 508 submission index base whether the plan over the insurance over the if the cause of the disapproval of the board is a notification intent with the disapproval of the 508 submission index based weather plan of insurance not satisfactorily addressed. Bottom determine if there is no insufficient time of the board over the view of the expiration of 120 day with the deadline disapproval of the 508 submission with the index with the weather plan with the insurance unless the applicant grant for the board extensive with the time adequate with the consider the notified with the 508 submission with the index based with the weather plan with the insurance with the extension time is agreed with the time period with the during with the board which must act with the modified with the 508 submission and the index based with the weather plan. Interim of the debate will be part of the extensive of the applicant does not present with a modification 508 submission index based with the weather plan with the reinsurance of the board over the day of the applicant specified with the applicant does not request additional time. If the board rendered for the decision of the 508 submission with the index based with the weather plan with the insurance with the time period with the paragraph J with the end of the section 508H submission with the index based with the weather plan with the insurance with the deem and approved with the board with the initial reinsurance with the year name of the 508 submission index based with weather plan with the insurance with the board must be approved with the 508 submission with the index based with weather plan with the insurance with the maybe available to subsequent with the reinsurance year. 407 the presentation board of approval or disapproval of the board will inform the applicant the date and the time and the place of the board meeting. The applicant will give the opportunity to incur with the present the submission of the concept of the proposal of the index based weather plan with the insurance of the board in person with the applicant must conform in the writing email with the view of the applicant will present with the person to the board. Applicant elect not to present with the submission of the concept of the proposal of the risk index based weather plan insurance of the board will not make a decision based on the information provided in accordance with 407 and 476. 40708 post approved with the 508 submission with the proof of the with the prior to me with the available with the share with the produce of the following was succeed with the applicant with the requirement of the federal crop and insurance corpus agreement between the applicant, the federal crop and insurance corporation. This is for the requirement of the 40709 with the responsibility with each of the respect for the implementation delivered the menu with the 508 submission within the required with the time frame of the submitting for the information documentation needed with the administrative with the 508 submission. Reinsurement agreement if the proof of the subject does not meet with the not expect with the perform of the financial matter of the consistent terms and conditions same with the reinsurance with agreement with the other existing reinsurance agreements offered with the federal crop insurance corporation effective with the crop give the consider the interest of the purchase pay for the AIP. Trans package of the implementation review with the 508 submission of the board base limited with the availability crop covered with any of the policy for insurance with the development of the authority act with the regulation any farm of any of the county year with the 508 submission approved with the board with the under the part. Subpart will be made available to the proof of the insurance with the provider with the under same and area insurance with the subsidy with the determine with the condition and reinstate with the application with it and solicitation sale with the market with the administrator with the 508 submission with the applicant with the federal crop insurance corporation made with the policy with the material available to the interest the party with the other official insurance issuance of the will result with the denial with the reinsurance with the risk of the subsidy with the A&O subsidy with the policy affected. Property rights of 508 submission will automatically require transfer of the federal crop insurance corporation applicant elect with the maintain 508 submission with the 407-12 83 fails to notify the federal crop insurance corporation decision not elect for the maintenance of the program of the 407-12 I requirement of procedure to approve of the index pay with the weather plane with the insurance with the containment of the procedure with the 1705 approve of the procedure with the submission index pay for the weather plane insurance with the coins with the board approve of the procedure index pay for the weather plane insurance with the not eligible federal reinsurance with the domain approve of the risk subsidy with the NAO subsidy. Four and 709 roles and responsibility with respect to applicant with the applicant reasonable measuring and triple the policy with the documents ready with the premium the price for the support with the material with the clue with the actual with the documents submitted with the deadline with the proof with the federal crop insurance with the corporation any form of the approval with the board with the complying with the section 508 with the Rehabilitation Act annually update with the providing menu with the chain with no later than 100 days with the earlier with the contract with the chain with the data with the commodity with all of the counties and state with the policy and plan with the insurance with the sold timely addressing question of the policy problem the clarifications regarding the policy plan for the insurance with such with the resolution approve the 508 submission with the communicate with the proof with the insurance with the provide with the federal crop insurance corporation office with the issuance system and the request with the board provide with the annual review of the policy performance written with the board with the 180 day with the provide with the contract chain with the day with the plan with the insurance first annual rate with the submitted 1 year full implementation approve of the policy plan with the insurance as agreed with the submitted with the RMA. Only the applicant makes change with the policy plan with the insurance with the rate with the premium approved with the board and each with the approved with the 508 submission with the bid not significant must be submitted with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation form 508 submission with a review in accordance with the subpart no later than 180 day with the prior with the earliest change contract change of the day with the commodity with all of the counties and sale with the policy plan with the insurance with the soul with the insurance with the chain with the consider with the new 508 submission. Except for the provide with the paragraph 84 with the section with the applicant with the solely liability and the mistake with the errors and flaw with the submitted with the policy plan with the insurance with the related with the material with the rate with the premium approved with the board with the less until the policy plan with the insurance with the transfer of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation according to the 407-12 with the applicant with the remains liable with the mistake with the errors with the flaw with the occur with the power prior to transferring policies the plan with the insurance with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation the mistake with the error with the flaw of the policy plan with the insurance with the related materials rate of premium to discover that more than 45 days for the cancellation termination of the day of the policy plan with the insurance with the applicant with the may request for the writing with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation with the approved policy plan insurance with the rate of premium such request must state with the discover the mistake with the error with the flow of the policy plan with the insurance with the rate of the premium and expect with the impact with the program for over the timely review with the request of the withdrawal with no liability with the task of the trust of the policy plan with the insurance with the rate of the premium and have with the withdrawal with no producer the approved with the insurance with the provider with any of the producer who have the right to action against the applicant nothing with the policy plan with the regarding the cancellation any policy plan with the insurance with the rate of the premium with the withdrawal with the applicant with the unicorn with the paragraph 84 with the section deemed cancel application of the deemed acceptance with the day of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation published with the note of the withdrawal of the website with the RMA USDA gov with the insurance and approve the insurance with the provide will be notified with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation policy plan insurance premium rates have been withdrawn with the procedure with the option and selecting any other policy plan in terms of the authorized for the act available to the area of the sales closing date, such as policy plan and insurance failure, application perform, applicant responsibility may result with withdrawal of the approval and policy plan insurance. With respect to the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation is responsible for conducting a review of the claims in Section 40706 for providing recommendation of the board with the 508 submissions, ensuring all of the related to the insurance of the receiver, the approve of the policy plan with the insurance of the related material of the sale with the producer of timely manner. All such information shall be communicated with all the approved of the insurance of the provider, Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, official insurance. Issuance civil and applicable to ensure that approve the insurance provided with the receiver the insurance under the same term of the conditions of the applicant with approved the insurance of the provider surgery contact with the Federal Crop Insurance contained with the execute of the copy of the reinsurance of the agreement if required with the reviewing the activity to approve the insurance of the provider civil the agent loss of the adjuster of the provider seat of the insurance of the accordance with the term of the policy with the plans for the issuing of the reinsurance of the agreement and all applicable procedures. Federal Crop Insurance will not be liable for the mistake with the error flaw of the policy of the plan insurance with the related to material with the rate of the premium with no cause of the action against the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation. Result of the mistake with the error of the flaw of the 508 submission with the index based whether of the plan for the insurance with the submitted under the subpart. Anytime with the prior of the cancellation, Federal Crop Insurance Corporation discover the mistake with the error of flaw of the policy plan with the insurance with the then related with the material with the rate of the premium and any of the reason for the withdrawal of the approval of the contained 40706 AK Exhibit 5 Federal Crop Insurance Corporation withdrawal of the reinsurance of the policy plan with insurance with the AIP subsequent crop year. Reinsurance that denied with the written notice provided with the RMA with the website at the RSMA USDA with the maintenance of the policy plan. Insurance transfer of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation according to the 407-12 I with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation assuming the liability with the policy plan with the insurance with the mistake. Here of law the curve with the date of policy transfer with approval of the board withdrawal of reinsurance with the denial with the 508H submission RMA with the provided to each of the notice website with the approval of the insurance with the provided with the must cancel with the policy plan insurance concordant with this term. 407-10 with the preemption and preemption taxation policy plan with the insurance with approval of the board with the Federal Crop Insurance with the reinsurance with the preemptive state with the local taxation of the premium does not apply with the index rate with the weather plan with the insurance with the approval of the premium sub with the A and O sub with the D under this part. 407-12, 711, the right of the review modification withdrawal with the approval at any time with approval by board may review the policy plan with the insurance with the relay with the material with the rates with the premium and review with the under supply with the index rate with the weather plan with the insurance with the request for additional information for determining the policy plan with the insurance with the relay with the material rates with the property and premium comply with the requirements of the subpart of the board will not apply with any of the problem issue when they arrive with the allow with the applicant an opportunity to make with the need of the chain with the correct the chain with the date with the pass with the applicant with the liable to any of the policy problems issued with the copy year in accordance with the section 407-09 with the policy changed. Board will withdraw with approval of the applicable with the policy of the plan, insurance with the rate of the premium, and include with the base of the weather plan with the insurance with the applicable with the applicant failed to perform responsibility stated in 407-09A if the applicant does not meet not timely satisfactorily provide with the material with the result of the issue with the voter satisfaction the chain necessary chain with the change can be made prior to the earliest contract chain with the day with the board determines if the applicable the policy plan with the insurance rate of the premium and the index of the base whether the plan's insurance with the dot in conformity with the act of the regulation applicable procedure. The policy plan insurance with the rates of the premium is not sufficient with the marking according with the applicant estimate with the fails to perform sufficient determined by the board with the insurance of the board the taxpayer with the in particular the continuation of the program arises with the question issue with the program integrity. 407-12, the reach of the development and reimbursement of the advance payment of the concept of the proposal with the user fee. 508 submission with the approval of the board of the reinsurance under section 508H for the 508 submission that may be eligible for one time with the payment of the reinsurance with the development and the cost of the reimbursement with the maintenance costs for up to 4 years reinsurance with the year with determined by the board reimbursement of the reinsurance with the development and cost of the maintenance costs will be considered with the payment of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation 508 submission. No additional amount for the owed for the applicable of the 508 submission for the transfer of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation according to the paragraph L over this section. The applicant may be delayed for the time to continue with the maintain of the 508 submission and will automatically begin the property Federal Crop Insurance Corporation no longer have the property rights of 508 submission will not receive any of the use of the plan with the insurance of the board with the proof of the procedure with the time frame with the must be with the breach of the development call for the maintenance call for the not and reimburse 508H has been approved by the board to reinsure with the not consider the reimbursement the reach of the development account for the applicant must be submit the total of the amount with the request for the supporting the document Federal Crop Insurance Corporation electronic method of the hard copy associated information must be received with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation before August 1st immediately following the day of the 508 submission related to the approval of the insurance of the provider Federal Crop Insurance Corporation issuing submission system. Means cover the applicant may be submitted the total amount of the requested all of the supporting document Federal Crop Insurance Corporation electronic method hard copy chip of the information received with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation for August 1st to each of the remaining year. Given the limitation of the fund with regardless of the request the receiver the payment of the May 5 of the September 15 applicable the first year of the applicant was submitted with the concept of the parole for the May request the advance payment up to 50% of the proposed reach of the development and cost of the after the applicant has become the breach of the development activity with the board and sole with the discretion provided to with additional 25% of the advancement of the estimated breach of the development cost, if the requirement of definition for the payment is met with an additional advance payment, request in accordance with the procedure of the section 170301 and procedure for the submission of the concept of the proposal seeking advance for the payment of breach of the development costs. Concept proposal to approve the board with advance payment of the applicant with a reasonable within the payment of the 5088 submission of the complete and specified within subpart by the deadline of this board. If the eminent fails to fully obligation to provide 508 submission of the complete with the deadline with the board shall notify the non-compliant with the applicant will not allow within 30 days for the applicant to respond. If the applicant fails to respond with the board will cover the 508 submission. That is completely provided with a deadline for the board applicant with a return amount with advance payment with the plus of the interest of 125 of the end of the per calendar month. If the applicant responds with the satisfaction of the board will just call for the provide with the 508 submission with the complete with the provide with the deadlines system of the board applicant will give the new deadline provide with the 508 submission with the incomplete with the applicant fails with the 508 submission with the complete with the deadline no additional extension will be for board applicant shall determine the amount with advance pay with the interest rate with 1.25% and simple interest for the per calendar month. And the applicant that receives the advance payment of the proportion of the expected the reach of the development account for the concept of the parole of the development 508 submission with the determined the board with the complete with the 508 submission and not approved with the board with the following expert with the review of the board will not seek refund of advance payment of the research of the development making further reach of the development and reimbursement associated with the 508 submission. Under Section 522 with the Act for the limited funds available for the annual financial fiscal year base for the reimbursement of the research of the development and include with advance payment of the concept of the proposal of the maintenance concerns costs. Consider the paragraph E with the J with the evidence section of the applicable with the request of the research reimbursement research of the development costs include with the advance payment of the contextual proposal of the maintenance costs in the fiscal year. Don't exceed the maximum amount with the authorized law with the applicant may receive the full amount with the reimbursement determined with the reasonable by the board. Exceed the amount with the authorized with the law with each of the applicant the reimbursement that determine the reasonable with the determined dividing total amount with each of the individual applicant the reimbursement. Cost authorized in paragraph E through J with the section of the total amount with the aggregated application reimbursement cost with the authorized with the E through J with the year multiplying the result of the amount with the reimbursement authorized act. The amount of reimbursement of the research for the development of cost for the maintenance cost for the request of the applicant and the review for the necessary with the and the request with the not compensatory with the complexity of the side of the air and are proposed not to be covered, and the research for the development of cost for the maintenance cost for the may be supported itemized with the saving and sub-rewarding documenting copies of the contact with the middle exchange with the timesheet for the travel, the voucher for the accounting ledgers, etc. Actual costs submitted with the expanded with the reasonable with the may be adjusted with the sole of the decretion board all the reach of the development cost of the maintenance cost directly result of the reach of the development and maintenance of 5088 submission only when they include the following. Shit, this is long. Wage benefit exclusive with the benefit bonus for the overtime payment that shift the differential of 1 line per employee with the contractor include the job title with the total hour for the total dollar for the rates for the change salary for the contract for the task performed. For example, the person performing the task is data entry but it shall not be paid with the rate for the performing data analysis for the wage rate with the performance for the should not exceed with the 2 line for the hourly wage rate plus the benefits provided with the boreal labor statistic. The applicant must report any familial business relationship that exists between the applicant with the contract with the employee with the reimbursement may be limited to deny with the contract with the employee with the associate with the applicant with the maybe with the consider the one over the same with the include with the separate entity that have been created by the applicant conduct with the research of the development the reimbursement must be limited with the deny if the contractor paid with the salary of the compensation travel the transportation online per event would include with the job title with the determination per the travel, the lodging cost for the mileage, every the other identified with the transportation cost of the food miscellaneous expense for the other cost of the total costs. Software computer program developed specifically to determine the purpose of the rate of the price of the coverage amount with the identified with the item include with the purpose of provide with the receiver the contract with the rate with the time and the hour of the wage with the total cost of the software developed with the receiver the data with the between the producer the agent and the proof of the insurance with the Lighter MRMA, such other similar software may not be included or allowable to cost of miscellaneous expense for the postage, telephone, express mail, for the printing, and identify with the cost for the per unit number of items in total dollars. Training costs expand with the facility the implementation to improve 508H for the include the instructor the hourly rate of the hours cost of the material for the travel the deck for the rating national level the director for the proof of the intro for the provide the intro for the selling of the 508 submission proof prior to the training of the RMA. Following expense for the specifically not eligible to reinsure for the development and maintenance cost of the reimbursement competent fee for the patent fees and any other change for the cost of expense for the related of the intellectual property training costs excluding training cover the facility of the implementing and approve of the 508 submission for the scoring of the section 525 standing filing fees expense for the normal outgoing and admission for the expense for the indirect overhead for the cost associated with the management general function of the organization such as the cost of internet server the telephone utilizing office supplies. Paid incurred losses, loss adjustment expense for sales columns, marketing costs, lobbying costs, producing applicable liability, resulting research, developing preparation, marketing of the policy, cooperation, information claims, the result of the research, developing preparation, marketing policy, costing, making problem change of the end result of the mistake, error, flaws of the policy plan, insurance costs associated building rent space allocation can cause paragraph IJ section determined period board to be ineligible reimbursement local state federal tax. We could request reimbursement maintenance costs may be supported with the itemized statement of support with the documentation evidence with the reinsurance year of the remainder of the period all actual costs submitted with the examined with the reasonableness may be adjusted at sole discretion of the board. Maintenance cost of the following activities may be reimbursed expense for the original 508H submission additional crops county for the sales states of the non-significant change of the policy related to the material of the non-significant change of the policy necessary to protect the program integrity records required of the Congress as any other qualified maintenance projected cost of the research of the development of the contract proposal based on the detail of the assessment of the cost associated with the paragraph F the sense of the cost of willing the measurement of the viability development vision and power of the board may be reimbursement of the research of the development and estimated cost of the containment of the concept of the proposal unless submitted with the can justify with a high reimbursement and core of the board proceed with the 508 submission for the determinant of the incompleteness and insufficient and resubmitted approved with the cost purpose victim 508 submission for the consider the reimbursable cost depending on the level of insufficient and complete with the 508H submission for the determinant of the sole discretion of the board. But reimbursement costs associated addressing issue with the rate of the board expert with the reviewers RMAs evaluated based on the substance of the issue with the amount of the reasonable necessary with the draft of the specific issue with the delay with additional costs covered with the inability to refute with the adequately the draft may not be considered the reasonable with the determinant sole discretion of the board. Okay, if the board withdraw with the approval of the insurance at any time of the period with the reimbursement made with the may being with the may with the fee with the be conducted with no may with the reimbursement shall be made with the fee owed for the day of the withdrawal with no later than 100 day with the later the reinsurance with the year of the maintenance of the reimbursement will be paid approval of the 508 submission applicant that must notify the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation written regarding the decision future ownership maintenance of the policy plan with the insurance of the applicant must know that the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation writing an intent with a continue maintenance policy plan insurance of the training to approve the insurance provided you with the fee to cover for the maintenance expense of all policy earning premium transfer responsible for the maintenance Federal Crop Insurance Corporation. If the applicant fails to notify the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, writing in the detail of the policy plan, and simply automatically transfer the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation beginning with the next reinsurance year. If the applicant re-elects the continue with the maintenance plan with the plan, ensure that the applicant may submit with the request of approval of the board over the time of the election of the term policy plan. Insurance Federal Crop Insurance Corporation may, in sole discretion, continue with the policy and the plan. Ensure that the elect with the withdrawal of the ability policy and plan. Policy require the approval of the user fee with the company with a written documentation for more of the request only over the direct cost to cover the plan, insurance of the cost of the eligible research for the development, maintenance for the reimbursement under the section not eligible to consider the determined user fee, but the board will approve the amount of the user fee, include with the maximum amount of the total of the maintenance for the may be collected per year. This is payable to the applicant with approval of the insurance provided with the board determined of the fee travel and unreasonable relating to the maintenance costs associated with the policy and plan with the insurance for the unnecessary the inhibited review of the policy plan insurance with the approval of the policy approve of the insurance provided with the total user of the fee with the exceed with the maximum amount with the term of the board with the maximum amount with the term of the board with the divide with the number of the policy the exceed with the premium to determine the amount will be approved each ensure the provider with a reasonableness initial request or change of the fee with determined with the board on the comparison amount with the reimbursement of the maintenance previously with the number of policy numbers approved with the insurance provided with the expect with the total amount of the fee that receive of the insurance year as a user fee unnecessarily inhibits with the policy plan, ensure that the high with the approve of the policy, provide that will not settle the user fee with the appropriate with the reasonable portion of the AO subsidized with the API, such prevents the AIP from meeting with such other obligation SRA. User fee charged with the insurance with the provider will be considered for the payment of the full year with the policy plan, insurance with the rate with the premium, and reinsurance with the year of the payment is me with the sole of the responsible for the applicant in collecting such fee as an approve of the insurance with the provider with the indebtedness fee with the result of the applicant with the approve of the insurance provider. And applicants may request the federal crop insurance corporation provide with the number of the policies sold with each of the insurance provided such information provided within 90 days after each of the requests, no later than 90 days after the request. Information provided with the federal crop insurance with approval of the insurance provided with it is later. Every 2 years after the approval of the user fee, the applicant have a significant change with the approval of the 508 submissions. The applicant may submit with the documentation board with a review and determining user fees as revised. The board may review the amount of user fee at any time within its sole discretion. The board may consider the information equal access justice Title 5 504 Bureau Logistic Labor Statistic Occupational Element Statistical Service Labor Organization Statistic Element Cost Index, any other information to determine the applicable the board making determination with the 508 submission with the reimbursement, research, development cost, maintenance cost, user fee. For the purpose of this section, right of the obligation, research, development cost, reimbursement, the maintenance cost, the reimbursement, user fees costs can be transferred for the individual and even unless successful with the improved with the written reward. Applicant request for the reimbursement, research, development cost, maintenance cost, the user fee that may present with the request of the presented the board prior to the consideration and approval of the index bed with the base with the playing with the insurance not eligible for reimbursement. The federal crop insurance corporation maintenance cost with the research, the development cost submitted with the approval of the index paid with the weather plans. Insurance may collect user fee with the approval of the index provided with the equivalent of the procedure for the handbook 170505 with approved procedure like mission index based whether the plans of the insurance. Wow. 407-13 non-reimbursed supplemental NRS policy unless for the federal crop insurance for the non-reinsurance supplemental with the cover the same in the agricultural commodity for the any policy with the reinsurance with the federal crop insurance corporation must be proven with already insured with the document shift any law for the reinsurance that does not exceed the federal crop insurance with the insurance policy failure to provide non-reinsured with the supplement with the policy with the endorsement with the RMA proud with the insurance with the result of the denial with the insurance AO subsidy risk is up with the underlying with the federal crop insurance with the reinsured policy underlying the federal crop insurance sold with another AIP under the federal crop insurance Indian sold with the sole apply with the AIP NIRS federal crop amount equal to reinsured with the AO risk comes to the underlying federal crop insurance crop policy.